Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, January 26th. Okay, so we have the moon still in this Leo energy. Of course, we just had our full moon in Leo here yesterday on the 25th. The moon in Leo is going to go void of course at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are not shifting into Virgo energy until very late afternoon, Saturday, the 27th. So we have a huge void of course that we are going to have to really find our stability in, which is going to be a very hard thing to do. When the moon is void of course, things are shaky, things are unstable, things are uncertain, and especially seeing how we're still very much in this full moon energy. Emotions are rising to the surface, realizations really triggering those darker thoughts, those darker feelings. We have to allow this energy to rise to the surface. We have to acknowledge it. We have to release it. We have to be aware of it. We have to integrate it. There is a lot going on, and having this void of course kind of last for a very long time here is going to be very, very, I'm going to say, pivotal to what it is that we are going to do from here. Of course, we are closing out old timelines. We are closing the door on the old version of self. We are rearranging our physical realms in order to actually see what it is that we've grown out of and what it is that we now want to grow into. This is also the very last day that Uranus, the Great Awakener, is going to be retrograde in the Taurus energy. So Uranus, he brings an acceleration when he stations direct. He brings unexpected events. He brings wild card energies out of the woodwork and really puts us on a path to really clean up the debris of the past, so to speak. We are more open to trying new things. We understand moving forward where it is that we may even have to do the things that scare us, especially where change and transformation is concerned, in order for us to break away from the old and really clean the slate so we can start building towards the new. When I say that today is very heavy, very weighted, very jittery, please understand that that particular frame of mind, that particular emotion is very needed in order for us to understand what isn't for us. And from that framework, we're going to figure out some alternatives on what it is that we would like to see, like to have, like to experience in the place of the things that we have now realized we want no part of. The energy isn't there, the excitement, the passion isn't there, the connection isn't there. And so we are kind of sorting through what needs to stay and what needs to go. With that being said, there are 12 different aspects taking place here today. 8 of them are going to involve the moon. So before we get into any moon energies, we have the sun in Aquarius energy, semi-sextiling, making a positive interaction with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, who is in Pisces energy. Reminder, Saturn is the traditional ruler over the Aquarius energy that the sun is currently in, the season that we're currently in. And because Saturn does bring a little bit of a harsh reality check, we are definitely going to be sitting in some heaviness, some weight. We are going to find it very difficult to find happiness, peace, harmony, and enjoyment within ourselves, within the world around us. Why? Because something feels off. Something doesn't feel right. Our to-do list is so freaking wrong and long that we are really having a hard time taking a good look at the silver linings. Again, we have a little bit of a darker narrative, tunnel vision on all the things that are wrong, aren't working, that need to be done, that need to be closed out, that it can feel a little bit paralyzing. Now, granted, these particular weights, these restrictions, these aha moments and epiphanies on what doesn't feel good, what it is that's kind of weighing us down, is the breakdown before the breakthrough. Again, we're in Aquarius season. This is the breakthrough season. This is the pivot point. This is the change. This is the transformation. This is the elevation. This is the awakening. But we do have to sit in the funk in order to realize what it is that we can no longer tolerate, what we cannot continue to pour into. This isn't going to feel good. Definitely going to bring up some triggers and activations on where it is that we're not content, we're not happy. But again, using that as a compass, as a framework on what it is that we would like to design, reorganize, bring to life, build, create instead of the things that we're no longer attached to is going to be an aha moment. But we're not going to have that aha moment anytime soon, and here's why. Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information communication, how it is that we express ourselves in this Capricorn energy, has tunnel vision goggles on our long-term vision, our long-term goals. And with that, a very hefty to-do list. What do we have to do to break away from the old, close the door, really bring a finality to some of the chapters that we know we're not going to continue to pour into? And then there's another whole list on what it is that we have to do to get ourselves out of this rut, to build the bridge, to get us away from where it is that we're at and closer to where it is that we desire to be. Mercury is getting into the boxing ring, fighting it out with Chiron, the wounded healer, in this Aries energy. So first of all, this is really going to put a huge strain on our mental plane. Even more than that, a strain on our conversations, our communications, our interactions. It's almost like we're forcing ourselves to speak in a way that is not in alignment with our heart space, with our actions at this point. It's very non-organic, very unnatural. And very strained as well. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of confusion. We know that something's got to give. We know something's got to change, but we don't know how to do that. So we're trying to maintain face at this particular point in time. Even more than that, we're super sensitive. Chiron, the wounded healer, we're getting triggered. We're getting activated. We feel very real and raw and vulnerable from that full moon in Leo energy. And we're super sensitive, especially when it comes to criticism, especially when we're criticizing and judging ourselves. This is definitely putting us in a not so nice narrative, not so nice dialogue. We are bringing up a lot of fears, doubts, and insecurities, especially thinking about how it is that we're going to solve some of the problems, some of the issues that are very much in our face right now. We're having a hard time being able to even understand within ourselves what needs to be done. We're having a hard time articulating that. We're having a hard time expressing that. And realistically speaking, this is just not a good vibe. We are not feeling cute. We are not feeling happy. We are not feeling confident or motivated. We, at this point, don't even want to improve. We don't even want to heal. We just want to sit in our little whiny, cryy, complainy type of ego self and really just kind of turn on the waterworks, so to speak, that negative mental narrative to keep ourselves in a state of paralysis. That is the dark force energy trying to prevent us from evolving, from improving, from doing anything better, from creating anything better out of the situation and circumstance that we now deem is too uncomfortable for us to stay in. We're going to get a little bit of help here because the moon in this Leo energy, still in its fullest state, trining, beautiful interaction, harmonizing with Chiron, that wounded healer in this Aries energy. This is fire on fire action. What do we know about fire? Fire burns away the heaviness, the weight. It burns through the cords. It burns through the attachments. It then rejuvenates, regenerates, inspires, motivates. This is like us saying, come on now, let's get our mental plane out of the darkness. Let's get out of this whiny, complaining type of mood and attitude. We're better than this. Let's be bold. Let's be brave. Let's be courageous enough to look ourselves in the eyes, in the mirror, and get real. Get raw, get vulnerable with who it is that we actually are, and none of us are the whiny complainers that we previously found ourselves in. Now, the moon is going to get a little bit tough after that. The moon is going to be making a not so nice interaction with Mercury, that mental plane. So our heart and our head, not on the same page. Mercury in that Capricorn energy is negative Nancy. Is Debbie Downer, is all of the mean girls coming out to play. Our head is not in it. Our heart is trying to be in it, but again, our fears, our doubts, our insecurities, really making it hard to kind of bust away from the funk that many of us have been sitting in. The moon in Leo, going to make a tough interaction with Mars. Mars is the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, even our anger. Mars is in this Capricorn energy as well, really taking a good look on where it is that we could take some very calculated, very deliberate actions to not only break away from the constructs, from the restrictions, from the attachments that we no longer feel in alignment with in order to build ourselves towards something better. So right now we are in a state of inaction. Again, a state of paralysis. Our fears, our doubts, our insecurities are getting the best of us right now. Our heart and our head not in alignment. We are frustrated. We're agitated. We're borderline angry, either with people outside of ourselves, with ourselves for getting ourselves in certain situations, whatever the case may be. We're not happy campers at this particular moment, and we're having a hard time overriding the funk, the, let's call it troublesome narratives, in order to actually align with that heart space in the heart and soul of the zodiac, in this Leo energy, to be bold, brave, and courageous enough to squash whatever narrative, whatever mindset is keeping us in this state of paralysis. Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money in this Capricorn energy, is going to be making an awkward interaction with Uranus, the great awakener, who is retrograde in the Taurus energy. Venus rules over the Taurus energy that Uranus is currently in. Uranus is kind of vibrating, jittery, anxious, anticipating coming out of a retrograde, going direct. So there's a lot of energy coursing through our bodies. There's a lot of triggering, a lot of activation, especially in the heart space. If you haven't listened to this week's ascension forecast, you're going to want to do that to understand where the discomfort, where the physical ailments are bringing attention to certain energies, certain narratives stuck in our physical form. Venus and Uranus making this little tiny bit of an awkward interaction is definitely highlighting where we're not happy, where we're discontent, where there is no peace, no harmony, no certainty, no assurity in our heart space at the moment. And this is likely going to trigger a situation, a circumstance, an epiphany, an aha moment on where it is that our relationships that we're currently in need to change, like ASAP, or our financial situation needs to change ASAP. This is really rubbing on our nerves on all the wrong ways, and definitely putting us in a situation to realize that we cannot continue this particular path, this particular direction. Now, what are we going to do in order to get out of this path and direction? Well, that is what we're trying to come up with: a path, a plan, a strategy on where it is that we're going to break away from the old, clean the space in this present moment so that we can start building towards the new. The sun in Aquarius energy, going to make a positive interaction with the North Node in Aries. We love this. This is around 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the morning is an absolute just obstacle course of negativity, let's say. Around 3 o'clock, this is where the mood, the attitude is going to change. The sun making this positive interaction with the North Node in Aries. Again, North Node in Aries is our soul path, the destiny point that we got to get on in order to be more independent, in order to return to thyself. Who are we without these attachments, without this relationship, without this influence of other people's thoughts and opinions? Where we have to return to our own space, our own vibration, our own frequency, standing in our own power, recognizing our own wants, needs, and desires, our own mission, our own purpose, that we have to sometimes go alone. So the sun interacting with the North Node, this is a breakthrough moment. This is an aha moment. This is a restoration, a renewal, a rebirth, a resurrection of our life force energy. This is where we get out of the whininess, the complaining type of state of paralysis, and we start seeing the greater, grander picture. That Aquarius energy is really the observer energy that we should all be sitting in at this point in time in our healing journey. We get to act as the observer, see ourselves for this, low, slow, negative Nancy that we've been sitting in all morning. And we want to rise above. We want to rebel against that old narrative, those old emotions, that old construct. We want to break away from whatever is really bringing us down, whatever is keeping us stuck, whatever is derailing our own personal path, our own personal mission. The moon trines the North Node shortly after. And this is great because now we're tapping into the boldness, the bravery, the courage that we need to grow up, to make a change, to transform, to be better, to improve, to actually believe when we are in alignment with our heart space that our higher selves know something better, greater, grander than our ego selves could ever know. This is the point where we change our mood and our attitude. This is the point when we change our perspective. This is the point when we start operating from our heart space, overriding that egoic fear-based narrative, and start reminding ourselves of what it is that we're doing, what it is that we're fighting for, reminding ourselves of who it is that we've always been, and reminding ourselves what it is that we need to kind of, boss up and really pursue a new path, a new vision, new goal, new dream. So the moon is then going to get into the boxing ring and fight it out with Uranus, the great awakener, who's retrograde in this Taurus energy. This is the last aspect that the moon in Leo is going to make before going void, of course, and it's not a great one. So here we are, our emotions, that boldness, that bravery, that courage. Suddenly we get into the boxing ring with the great awakener, and what are we? We are confused. We know that we have this new mood, this new attitude, but we don't know the path forward. We have no clue what that next move is. And because we can't see the path clearly, and again, we will in the coming days, we're still in the full moon, so give it a little bit of time. Because we can't see that next step or the next sequence of steps on what to do from here, suddenly we're starting to doubt ourselves. Suddenly, that empowerment energy is starting to dwindle. And it's taking place at a time where we are very anxious, we're very uncertain, and again, we're moving into the void, of course, with the moon that is going to highlight the insecurities, the fears, the doubts, the instability that we're feeling in our energy for a very long time. So this is the last moment that the moon is going to be in this, I'm going to say, situation, this circumstance, this square off with Uranus. We're going void, of course. The moon is then going to interact with Venus, so our heart space is just overwhelmed. There's this want, need, and desire to do better, to be better, to pursue better, but there's also this part of us that is like, I don't know, it seems like a lot. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can stay the course. I don't know if I can keep the eyes on the prize, so to speak. And this is, again, the inner debate, the inner conflict that many of us are going to find ourselves in for this period of time when the moon is void, of course. The moon is going to make a positive interaction with Neptune. Neptune, of course, in its place of power in this Pisces energy. This is a real good effort on our parts to continue to remind ourselves what it is that we're fighting for. Now, sometimes you may have to realize what it is that you're fighting against in order to realize what it is that you're fighting for. But either way, there's a reminder, a refresher, if you will, of this vision, of this goal, of this dream that should continue to inspire and motivate you to stay the course. The last aspect that we have going on is the moon in this Leo energy, void, of course, making a positive interaction with Mercury. Mercury, again, ruler of the mental plane in this Capricorn energy. This does suggest that our heart and our head are on the same page. They might not be on the full same page, but they are in the same book. They're in the same chapter. What we are kind of gathering here is this perseverance, is this determination, is this reminder of what it is that our heart is asking us to pursue, and this really solid effort to kind of nip any negativity in the mental plane, in that inner dialogue, in the narrative, in the bud before it creates the statement of fear and anxiety and doubt within us. So to end off the day on a much better tone than we started the day off is a positive sign, but just keep in the back of your mind that Uranus is preparing to go direct. He affects the central nervous system. There is anxiety, there is jitteriness, there is a lot of questions, a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of instability that we are going to be feeling moving into Saturday.